Hi everyone. Let me just mention that the Pum Experience podcast is sponsored by Zinc. And now a few words about our guest, Taylor. He is the founder and CEO of PremierSpike and Utah Roundnet. He was the first person to ever host Spikeball/Roundnet tournaments full-time, starting in 2021. The influence he got helped him build relationships that funded his next venture, which is PremierSpike. He raised $50,000 in pre-orders without any paid advertising. Today, as the driving force behind PremierSpike and Utah Roundnet, Taylor continues to push the boundaries of the industry, demonstrating remarkable resilience and innovation. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's we're new in our journey, but it's been a fun new experience for me. I've learned a lot, and it's kind of a fun journey to share with followers of every type.
What you've achieved is pretty impressive. And I think you're not the typical entrepreneur I spoke with, and I've been in touch with people in your space for about 5 years, starting with Chris Mead back in 2019. I think he's the guy that put us in touch a while ago.
Yep, I believe so.
Could you, and I just introduced you to the audience, but could you elaborate a bit and share the long version of your own entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. So I am, as they say, a serial entrepreneur. Started mowing lawns back when I was in high school, and I tried working at a restaurant. Lasted about a month because I didn't make nearly as much money as I was doing it on my own, but I wanted to experience what a real job was. And so just kind of always, evolved out of that. Went through college, worked at a marketing agency, but it was always still trying to find, a little side gig, something outside of the typical 9 to 5. Got into a little bit of real estate, had some rental properties that I managed, and then kind of got into hosting Roundnet tournaments back in 2018. But I just did that for fun. I had played the game for 6 years. I had my first Spikeball set back in 2012. And I was always teaching new friends how to play. I loved the game of Roundnet, but there was nowhere to play competitively at the time. And so I created a league. I worked with my local Parks and Rec department. We put together a league, and then realized that, it's really a lot of a tournament atmosphere, and started putting together tournaments. Again, the goal was for me to play more. And I quickly realized that I couldn't do that because, well, if I'm hosting these tournaments and people are paying money, I probably should be there to actually work at the tournament and put it on and make sure everything goes smoothly. So, um, I was obviously have been able to play more than I would otherwise, but, I host about 30 tournaments each year. I get to play in about 4 or 5, which is more than zero. But yeah, after the first couple of years, it really blew up, especially here in Utah. It's a massive place for the sport, and we were hosting some of the biggest tournaments in the world here. And so in 2021, we had just come out of COVID. In the last half of 2020, we were able to start putting tournaments together. People are playing outdoors, and our tournaments, skyrocketed. And so 2021, I was able to quit my normal day job and just start running Utah Roundnet full time, and did that for about a year before I realized, okay, well, what's my next venture? And that's when me and my co-founder, Adam Calder, got together and decided that we were going to try to improve the equipment of Roundnet, which really was pretty stagnant as far as innovations go. For about 7 years was like the last, when the last ProNet came out from one of our competitors. And all the designs between all the different brands were all basically the same, which, allowed them to twist and turn, and the quality wasn't great. And we decided that, we could really put together a quality piece of equipment that isn't just meant for, competitive roundnet, right? The very niche sport of where people are traveling the world to play in these tournaments, but also just for the casual players to play in their backyard. Um, people don't like broken equipment. Just because someone doesn't play competitive basketball doesn't mean that they have, one of those little portable basketball hoops that they're pulling around their driveway and into the street. And so that's kind of where we were able to really penetrate into the market with my influence of running my own tournaments. And I had done those outside of Utah as well, kind of throughout the Western United States. But I had influence throughout all of North America, into Europe, into Australia. Over the years, I had helped many people do what I had started in Utah. And so with that influence, I was able to say, hey, we've got this new round net set coming out. It's higher quality, obviously, different marketing campaigns to try and push that. But we were able to raise over 50,000 in pre-orders without any paid advertising spend, simply through kind of our networks. We had sponsored some players, to get some, goodwill with our competitive community, as that was one of our goals, was to better support competitive players and organizations. But also in the process, we've learned some other, market segments that have been really good for us. And those are just other high use situations. So whether it's PE teachers doing it in their classes where they're putting through hundreds of kids every day to play on these. And again, they don't want them to break quite as easy as some of our competitors. And same with summer camps. And so some of these bigger group areas have really been excited to get PremierSpike in their hands. And so, yeah, it's been a whole journey of trying to figure out, okay, where are we focusing? Where are we putting marketing dollars, going to expos, all of that. And it's continual learning.
Right. Well, look, one of the videos you shared recently on LinkedIn, I saw in the background a big green field with people playing PremierSpike. Was this a summer camp view
No.
or something else? Uh-huh.
So that was just one of my tournaments.
Uh-huh.
So at our tournaments, we'll have anywhere from 20 to 100 teams and show up. And I know the video you're talking about. It's one of the featured ones here in Utah. That always has, whether you put together a tournament or not, people are always showing up to play. And so, yeah, that was just the background of one of my tournaments.
Right. It seems to have plenty of moving parts, isn't it? But at the same time, I can sense that it's something you really enjoy doing, regardless, no matter of whatever it takes. You would be there connecting people and calling friends. I guess you started with some friends. I don't know if you realize that, but in a way, you're a kind of like a super connector, but your medium is the game itself.
Yeah, and that's it really is my passion. Putting together the events, and like you say, I mean, I know you say, that's kind of the relationships or the connector, might be the byproduct, but honestly, that's whenever we do, polls as to, what keeps you coming back. The number one answer is always the community. And that really is that there have been lifelong friendships, many of my own, many of now who are my friends, and connecting them with others. And so, yes, we all connected through Roundnet, but yeah, it really is a lot of fun just to be out in the sun on a Saturday, hanging out with my friends, running this tournament, putting on an event that just brings happy, smiles to people's faces, and that's what I get a kick out of. Even after COVID, as a lot of backyard games have kind of plateaued a little bit or gone down a little bit. So has our attendance. But I wake up early on a Saturday morning and think, oh, I do not want to have to go to work. I just want to go back to bed. I want to hang out with my family today. And then I get out on the field. People start showing up, checking in, and there's very few places that I would rather be, especially when it comes to work. There's nowhere I'd rather be when it comes to work, but even for fun, it's a great day, a great
Yeah.
way to spend a Saturday.
Being there on the field feels exciting, but there are other moving parts of the business nowadays. Since you're producing the device, and well, two questions came in mind. Have you actually seen some partnerships forming after a game of like PremierSpike between entrepreneurs, maybe?
There, as far as entrepreneurs, yes. In fact, we have several of our players who have been playing with us for years now. 3 or 4 years, and they have their own company, and they are hiring other players that they've met and they've become friends with. So we've connected them, professionally. Other entrepreneurs, partnering with other people. People coming to me and saying, hey, I've got this idea, and just being able to give that advice. But that's why I say, like, that community, yes, we all come together to play Roundnet, but really, like, the community is what keeps people together. And those relationships, whether professionally or personally, and being able to play with people that you trust, and then you work with people that you trust as well. One of the nice things about Roundnet is you can set up the net almost anywhere. You can do it on a indoor basketball court. You can do it out on the grass, on sand. You can do it in a racquetball court or your basement. And you can play 2 players, 6 players. And you can always come up with it. So although I talk about the competitive sport, which is again very niche, it's a game that is just nice that anybody can play. Very similar to pickleball. It's nothing's too difficult to get. You don't have to run too much if you don't want to, but as you get better, right, things get really intense. And so as the competition goes up, obviously the athleticism does as well. But you really can just hit around with 4 people, 6 people, whatever it is. Just have some fun, staying active a little bit, getting a little bit of adrenaline going.
Yeah, well, I'd love to get back with some feedback once we go through the entire experience. You're one of the few examples from my circle, people from my circle that managed to expand to Europe. Could you share a few of your experiences you had while trying to expand, and how you ended up penetrating the European market?
Yeah, it was not easy. I don't recommend it unless somebody already has a built-in market in Europe. There are a lot of extra steps, a lot of extra expenses that go into distributing in Europe, especially doing it directly, which is how we went, how we got into it. A lot of others in our space, we've talked about Paddle Smash, CrossNet, our competitors, Spikeball. They don't even import it themselves. They go through distributors that import it, purchase it directly from the factory, and go from there. And because again of kind of my influence of how I had helped a lot of other clubs in Europe open up and kind of grow, I knew that I had talked with them, and they were very, very excited about our brand. And initially we thought, okay, we'll still just import everything into the US and we'll ship them one at a time over there, and it just wasn't feasible from a cost standpoint, either for us or for our customers. And so we had to make a last minute pivot. After we had opened up pre-orders, and realized, a lot of Europeans were shy based on the heavy costs. So we had to quickly come up with a new strategy so that we knew that, okay, we are going to be able to import directly to Europe, and ship a container directly to a 3PL over there, and reopen pre-orders for Europe, at the new pricing. And so that whole process of getting set up with VAT, and one-stop shop, having accounting that knew how to do those filings for us, and we elected to use a 3PL out of Poland, for better or worse. The 3PL is great. The importing into Poland and how all the VAT works, and it's all very different from the U.S. And so
Yeah.
there were a lot of challenges, but we made it work. And particularly right now, a lot of the European clubs are going through this whole thing with a former distributor of our competitor, and now a lot of the Europeans are ready to and wanting to switch to use our equipment, and we're there and we're ready to go. And so it's one of those things that is going to pay off for us. But if I didn't have that market already lined up, I would definitely not suggest it.
Interesting. Is there a specific country in Europe that seems to be the biggest fans of PremierSpike so far?
Germany, yeah,
Mhm.
Deutschland. They are, even from the beginning, they have been one of our biggest advocates. And even though, in the beginning they weren't using our equipment in their tournaments because, we came in middle of last year, and so they already had a sponsor lined up going through the end of last year. And but then again, something kind of happened with the whole distribution network over there. And for 2024, they are now all, it's kind of a little bit of a last minute getting into the season, but starting to make the shift. But yeah, Germany has been a big one. And then right now, we're doing a lot in Finland, and sponsoring a camp in Poland next month as well. And then also Estonia. They just, yeah, someone in Estonia, the clubs there just did a big purchase to kind of distribute throughout all their players. So
Mhm.
yeah, but all really kind of the biggest uh, base came out of Germany, and it's just kind of spreading from there.
Interesting. I know Germany, they're hosting e-commerce exhibition. It's a large one. I can recall Chris Mead going there, and there was an experience where he met a competitor of them that just cloned CrossNet. Not sure if they had the permission of doing that, but it was a cool thing to find out. I've personally attended one of their events, hosted in Germany. It's called Sewer Bar Camp, and it's mainly for Amazon sellers.
Okay.
And Estonia, by the way, these guys are, they joined the EU, developed pretty quickly. I know some of them, and probably, you know, they might keep surprising you. Who knows?
Yeah, that was one that, yeah, I wasn't really expecting it. All of a sudden, I get an email from them, and kind of right off the bat, asking for kind of what are pricing based on, different amounts that they purchase. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we want to do a whole pallet, and start from there. And honestly, they were able to move fairly quickly. They hadn't even been set up as a business when they first started talking to me. And then, I mean, it wasn't 2 weeks before they were set up with the business, and we had their shipment off to them. So yeah, Estonia must be doing something right to open up the doors for entrepreneurs over there.
Right. Well, talking about markets, I uh, couldn't resist asking you about Southeast Europe. Is anything happening in this region?
Yeah. So I mean, we are, open to, shipping throughout the EU. Obviously, with us being, having our product in Poland, we can go um, throughout anywhere. And so a lot of it is just kind of based on, the popularity of the game and of the sport, and kind of how that network works. Right now, our primary network of sales is through the, especially in Europe, is through the competitive organizations, as they kind of push down. Marketing in Europe is very different. Each country has its own styles of what works and what doesn't. So right now we're mainly working with those organizations and clubs, while we try to put together some distribution channels and partnerships in place. But we're absolutely always working to expand throughout all of the EU, in particular Southeast.
Nice. Well, look, would be awesome if some of my peers recognize this as a great opportunity to improve their health and do some extra exercise while playing the game, but also probably become a local influencer and distributor. Well, let's see. I'll let you know.
When we are a self-funded startup, we don't have venture capital money to be able to say, okay, we're just going to be able to throw 100,000 right at the marketing, and something's going to stick, and we're going to know what it is right away, and go from there. So for us, it's a lot of small beta testing. And so it's like, okay, let's see, does this work? Nope. Okay, let's go over here. And so that's been one of the hardest things, is scaling, getting up to scale from coming from a self-funded startup.
Right.
But then also our big challenge is we're in a unique position that we are selling a higher quality product than the name brand. And trying to communicate that to the casual customers, the people who haven't heard of us, that we don't have the brand recognition with. For those playing in tournaments, at this point we're pretty well known, because the majority of serious organizations have chosen to use our equipment now, and so we have a great market segment there. But yeah, communicating that to just the what I call the backyard baller, that is a challenge. Now day to day, I get excited over these wins. Oh, we won this community. We this community is buying a dozen sets for their tournaments. Going back to me running my own tournaments, and what I get out of that is, it's that sense of pride of, I'm bringing people together and I'm making them happy, right? I mean, it's like, it's a little bit of an egotistical boost that, hey, I did that. And in the same regard for my products, I mean, I love just seeing some random video from Roundnet Israel. And I think they've only got one set there because it was obviously really hard to get in. And there's one person who was in Europe, and they purchased it there, and then took it home with them. And just seeing a random video of somebody playing on this on the other side of the world, and on all the other sides of the world, is really exhilarating. So that gets me through the struggles of a startup, where we are really trying to get profitable, and where we can really scale and thrive as a business. But yeah, I mean, that's why I do it, is just making people happy, whether it's, like I say, a random person across the world, whether it's a whole a new organization using our equipment in tournaments, whether it's a PE teacher that is just thrilled that she has quality equipment that she's not having to replace, and she tells all her friends, and now we have a bunch of random orders out of Canada because the whole school district is now switching over to our equipment, because it's just been a domino effect of referrals that I had never talked to before. So
Right.
well, lots of fun things that happen during the journey.
Right. Well, sometimes, you just need that one super connector that will spread the word. And I think you mentioned the domino effect.
Yep.
And all right. Well, talking about some improvements, you recently mentioned that you started tracking costs more seriously, or I don't know, is seriously the right, if
More
seriously is
accurately, yeah.
more accurately, yeah, more accurately. And it's something I'm doing since recently as well, more accurately. How are things going? Are you able to get some valuable data and change your decision making process somehow?
Absolutely. Yeah, realizing that, cost of goods, one, isn't just from the factory, which, I mean, I always knew that. I considered, okay, the factory manufacturing costs, and then freight and customs. That was kind of what I had ballparked in my head as, okay, these are, this is our, break even price point. And then going back and working with one of my Amazon consultants, and I had a question on some of our smaller accessories, and hey, are these even worth putting on Amazon? And he sent me this margin calculator, and I'm like, oh, realize like all the little things that I'm missing, which is only a handful, but it adds up. And then I duplicated that document, realizing that my costs are different whether I'm going into Europe, and if I am selling D2C, and I'm having to pay for ad spend for each of those, plus shipping. It's different if I'm doing a bulk order where the customer is paying for shipping on top, and so, okay, what discount can we bring down? There's no marketing cost to that, because that's more through my influence. It's different from Canada, where we are shipping into the US, and then from there shipping a few pallets to our partner in Canada to fulfill on us. And so every different channel has a different set of costs. And I mean, I realized there were definitely a couple of wholesale orders that, now that I go back, we didn't break even on. We lost money on that, which is crazy, because I've wondered that. I'm like, we've sold so much. How are we,
Yeah.
where is all the money? I'm like, oh, this is where it's going. And so, there's always lessons you're going to learn. You're going to make mistakes. But what this does is, as of lately, with all of these, new, like, I mentioned, these kind of bulk orders from organizations. Now I'm just confident that, okay, I know the price point that we are, able to offer, and I know that, okay, we are going to be profitable, as opposed to just wondering and saying, okay, well, we're going to try, this price point here and this price point here. And we can also do the analysis, and we've tested different price points and see, okay, if we sell triple the amount at a lower price point, that actually makes us more profitable. Or is it worthwhile of selling less at a higher price point? Anyway, so all of those decisions, I'm able to actually have an accurate, accurate data guiding me, rather than me just, kind of, well, I
Yeah.
think this is going to work out.
Yeah. Well, I know that at some point it's a must step to start doing in order to keep growing further.
And I suggested that point coming sooner than later. I wish I would have done that a year ago, before we even had our first shipment. But yes, so highly recommend going through all of your actual costs early.
Yeah. Well, somebody said many DTC brand founders start thinking about this after achieving about $2 million in revenue. And so I realized, yeah, some marketplaces, you might have your items there more about, like, it might be more about positioning and verifying kind of thing for, for the users, for the potential customers. If the brand is, let's say, on Amazon, it seems to be a legit brand.
Right.
But of course, with further optimization, the profits could keep increasing. Nowadays, Amazon offers a few options that can actually save money. Well, good. I think I went through all the questions I had in mind. But is there anything else you'd love to share besides potentially a discount code for our listeners?
Well, sure. We'll absolutely get to a discount code, but I think the last thing, and it's kind of hammering on our last point of finding your successes. Um, as an entrepreneur, it takes a different type of person to start your own business. Especially if you're going to do it in something totally new, like I did, and it's manufacturing, and you know nothing about that. And you're going to face challenges. It's going to take can take an emotional turmoil on you for a little bit, and yeah, so be ready for that. But the big thing is to you know have a focus on your wins. I started to see behind me, I've got a little board here of our funnel, because I wanted to remind myself that, okay, these are the wins. These are where I'm focusing on. I want to keep growing that. And that way, it keeps me out of just my inbox. I'm just always, instead of always trying to play catch up with my inbox, I actually have targets that I'm going after, and wins that I'm finding and able to focus on. So that's a big thing. As a founder, you can lose big, or you can win big. So focus on the wins until you really get there. And then, of course, yes, you mentioned a discount code. So we've set up a discount code, PAMPOOM15, get you 15% off your first order at PremierSpike.com. And then you can also find us on all the socials at premier.spike. And that's give us a follow, and please say hi, share your thoughts of your reviews of what we've got. That's, like I say, that's one of my biggest wins is when someone just sends me, oh my gosh, I played on this for the first time and I'm so excited to get it. Or just yesterday, someone posted a screenshot of their order and said, all right, it's about time. And yeah, I mean, that stuff is really what picks me up.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include all the links in the show notes when we air this episode as well. Well, thank you, Taylor. It was nice chatting with you. Probably it would be a nice idea to also do a second part in 6+ months, right before the Christmas season.
Sounds great.
I feel excited about trying the game myself. So, as I said, looking forward to getting back with some feedback.
We'll have to,
Well,
yeah, we'll
thanks
have to
again.
get you some for sure.
Yeah. I will be relying on some advice at some point, I guess. Awesome. Well, keep rocking out there, and keep growing.
Great. Well, thank you for having me and letting me share our story.
Thank you. All the best.